Hello YouTube, this is The Bucket coming at you today with the Smith & Wesson CSX. This is an aluminum alloy framed handgun with a steel slide, steel barrel. It's 19.5 ounces empty. Its length is 6.1 inches. It is 1.12 inches in the width with a height of 4.6 inches with a flush fit magazine. As you can see, this is hammer fired with dual ambidextrous safeties, and it's got dual ambidextrous takedown slide stops. So this particular firearm is what a lot of people now refer to as a micro 1911. And when Colt came out with the Colt Mustang, that was really just a miniaturized 1911 in every way, shape, or form. It fired the .380 cartridge, and it was designed for somebody who wanted a conceal and carry firearm, wanted a semi-automatic, and wanted a comfortable battery of arms. And that's what they came up with. And for the longest time, that was really your option. You had something like that, you could go to maybe a Walther PP, PPK. Bursa had a derivative very, very similar to it. And those were kind of your options that you had. And then the striker-fired revolution happened, and you saw a lot of people going down that route. And when they moved to the polymer striker-fired, you saw things like the Kel-Tec, the LCP-2, guns chambered in .380, striker-fired, good guns, but, you know, some of those traditionalists that like that hammer, that like that safety, that like cocked and locked, you know, just were not super happy with those particular firearms. And, you know, the major manufacturers knew that they had a group of people that they weren't making happy with those striker-fired guns. And companies like SIG came out with the P238, Kimber came out with a micro. A little bit later on, Springfield came out with a 911, and those were single stack firearms. The P238 started off in .380, but the P938 came out very short after that. And you had something that was like a 1911 that wasn't a 1911, but just kind of had some of that aesthetic that made people feel very, very comfortable. And it did its job. It did what it was supposed to do. And a lot of people liked them, and they were kind of high-end firearms. They were almost like barbecue guns. You'd carry outside the waistband, and, you know, you didn't mind people seeing it. You were kind of showing off the cool thing that you had with you. And those worked out great. But then, you know, you started seeing the shields come out, the Glock 42, the Glock 43, and so you had the striker-fired people, then you had the hammer-fired people, and surprisingly enough, Smith & Wesson never came out with a 1911-esque pistol to compete with SIG and Springfield and Kimber. And I always kind of wondered why, and I'm guessing what ended up happening was Smith was really working on their Shield, their whole MMP series. They had some stiff competition, and they were constantly evolving and constantly trying to make a better firearm, and just never put the time into making a 1911 micro type firearm. And then the SIG 365 and the stack and a half mags came out, and I think Smith was like, this is our opportunity to really delve into this and to do this and to do it right. One of the things that and I've talked about it in previous videos, my first conceal and carry gun that I ever purchased was for my church. I was going to carry to be on the security team there, and I bought a Smith & Wesson Shield, and it was just too narrow for my big doughy man hands, and I overgripped it. My finger would come way out. I had a tendency to throw shots to the left, and, you know, I got better with it. But then I tried the VP9SK, that double stack just felt great in the hand, and I ended up abandoning the Shield. Not that the Shield wasn't a good running gun, it just wasn't right for me. And what I love about this gun is the width. I mean, you could just see it. It just fits in the hand. It's great. It's an amazing firearm for that purchase, and it allows me to do the things that I want to do and do it very, very well. And I think that they did themselves a favor waiting, and it just shows. So I'll tell you some of the more of the features. You got front serrations, you got rear serrations. I'll try to get it up here on camera. There's actually a little bit of a wing on both sides, like the VP9SK and the VP9, and even the EZ. I like this because they're not removable, nothing to pinch on. It's not quite as big as the VP, but still really allows you to rack that slide super easy. And for some people with grip control issues, that's going to be super helpful. I like the finish. It's nice. It's understated. They didn't put any texturing on the aluminum alloy frame, just this front strap and this rear strap. They're very good texture, very grippy. If you don't wear a shirt in between your inside the waistband holster and this, that's going to braze the muffin top a little bit, but it is going to make sure that gun is in your hand and in it well. So that is, I like the way that looks. The thumb safety, anybody that has spent some time with the 1911 will know how that feels. I will tell you to engage it if you don't use it a ton. You have to think about it, but just to disengage it, super easy. The sights are windage adjustable. It's got a screw there and you can adjust that. They did put these anti-glare striations in the top so you won't get a lot of sun glare with it. In the magazines, you have a 12 round with this stupid dumb collar. I will agree with Mac from the Military Arms channel. Smith, you got to do something different about that. That's awful. That is absolutely awful. This is the 12 round. It's a little bit less flush than the 10 round, but for what small space you're giving up, those 2 rounds are definitely worth it. Go in, give it a little bit of a whack, rack your slide. It has a loaded chamber window. I do like that. I think that is probably the best option out there for checking to see if your chamber is loaded. Just great gun. As far as the grip, I can really easy get all 3 fingers on it. When I go with the 10 round magazine, I can still get a little bit of my pinky on it. I don't have a problem with that. Some people with much bigger hands, that's going to dangle off. So it is what it is. You get either option with that particular firearm. The biggest downside that I have to this, and if you go watch the Military Arms channel review on this, he kind of just points out a lot of negative things, and yeah, there's some things that aren't ideal about it, but man, I think the pluses just way outweigh those. The disassembly is something I wish they would have done differently. So you do kind of disassemble it like a 1911. Anybody that's done that, there's this crescent moon that you line up with, oh, I actually got that on the camera pretty good, with the slide stop, slide release. This is flush, so you're going to want to get a tool in there and you're going to want to apply some pressure, and as you turn you might move that a little bit out of the way, because once you get it, it really pops out really easily, but you have to get it just right. And when you have a tool, that's just not ideal. I understand why they did it. They wanted to have that ambidextrous control, and then it is flush. So like when you have a CZ, it's the same process, and to make it easier to disassemble, because that really is a military firearm, they have the slide stop pin way out, and you can kind of nick yourself. It really protrudes quite a bit. So I understand why they did it. I don't think they made a good decision. Then it's just kind of your standard high power kind of disassembly. It's got a captive recoil spring, good barrel. The feed ramp is polished. You know, what you'd expect from a Smith & Wesson. Just the machining is super good, super clean. It had some oil on it when I got it. I've re-oiled it since then, so yours might not be that oiled. Assembly, just the exact same thing, but in reverse. I find it's a little bit easier to assemble this particular firearm than it is to disassemble it. But, you know, it comes back together. And even with that, the thing that I really don't like about it, if you're going to buy something so small that's designed to be so much bigger, and you're just going to shrink and push and mash everything down to the smallest possible size, you're going to end up with some trade-offs. I really think they could have probably done something better about the disassembly, but everything else about it, I think the trigger pull is great. The reset is nice. Mac from the Military Arms channel said that he had like a false reset in his. I've done a lot of dry firing with this particular firearm. I have never felt a phantom trigger reset. I feel like it's really easy to get to. The hammer, the texturing on it's good. You can cock the hammer relatively easily. There's no grip safety. It's just a good quality firearm. And if you want a hammer fired 1911 style firearm that's not going to break the bank, that's going to give you the kind of capacity yet still give you that purchase that you want to shoot well, you should really check this out. So I'm going to go to the Goat Whisperer's Ranch. We're going to put this through through its paces. The big baby bucket's going to come out with that one. I released a video a while back on the TP9 SFX. I want to put that through its paces with the irons, and then we're going to go ahead and we are going to mount the Swamp Fox Kingslayer Red Dot. Put that right on top of that. We'll run that through its paces 2 different ways. I haven't released this video yet, but I got a cool video on a Star Super A. This is a 9mm Largo, but I went ahead and I just purchased a 9mm Luger barrel with a 9mm Luger magazine. We're going to run this, both calibers, while we're there. And just for some of you guys that said, hey, I thought you liked more historical firearms, I went ahead and I purchased one of these. This is a DWM Luger, and if you look, it is an American Eagle Luger. This one is in 30 Luger or 7.65 Parabellum original wood grips from around 1908. The model's in 1906. I'll probably put that through its paces as well. Leave a comment down below if you'd like me to do a review on this particular firearm or anything else that you'd like to see on the channel. I want to thank you guys for all those likes, all those comments. Any shares would be greatly appreciated. And as always, you stay classy, YouTube.
I learned a lesson. Never half-ass 2 things. Whole-ass 1 thing.